Hey Reddit, this story will surprise you. I advise you to read to the end. My wife and I have known each other for over 5 years. We were over 30 years old. There was a lot of talk about children, but somehow we were in no hurry with this. The wife did not want children, because she would have to stay at home with the children and not go anywhere. She wanted freedom. Now she spends almost all her free time with her friends. Of course, in the family I was the main one and the main income was from me. I earned a lot and my wife and I had enough to live and rest. But one day something strange happened to me. I had a great friend and we spent a lot of time with him. So I learned my friend by heart. But recently I began to notice that he abruptly becomes angry, then sad and sharply joyful. Some unexpected mood swings appeared in him, but mostly he was funny and I began to guess that he had found himself a new girlfriend. Although he was married, he liked to take a walk on the side. He had a difficult relationship with his wife. They fought constantly. His wife was the daughter of a businessman and therefore he earned less than her. His wife's father entrusted him with a small business. He was mostly with her for the money and that's why he cheated on his wife. I know that he had a mistress, but now, as I understand it, he has a new one. I did not ask him about the new mistress, and he himself tried not to tell me about it. He hid it from me and from his wife, so that I would not accidentally let it out. If his wife found out about his betrayal, then her father would be very angry and would begin to take revenge on him. But no matter how my friend hid his mistress, I still found out about her. One time I was at work, and I was dealing with a very serious client. We agreed with him to meet in a cafe to discuss work matters. Usually I met with clients in a cafe that was close to work, but this time we decided to meet in a cafe further away. I decided not to be late for the meeting and left early. I came to the cafe and sat in the corner so that visitors would pay less attention to us. I was waiting for my client and looked around. Suddenly, a familiar car drove up to the cafe. It was my friend's car. A friend got out of the car and began to open the passenger door. I immediately realized that his new mistress was in the car. I finally get to see my friend's mistress, I thought. I moved closer to the window to get a better look at my mistress. He gave his hand to his mistress and my wife got out of the car. I was in a stupor. What? My wife? Why is my friend driving my wife to some cafe? I got angry. The wife got out of the car and they kissed with a friend. After the kiss, the wife began to look around so that no one would see them, but it's too late to look back. Everything I needed to see, I saw, but why is she cheating on me? After all, we were fine. We never quarreled with her and everything suited us. Why did she decide to cheat? I decided to wait for them in the cafe. I thought that they would come in now, and immediately began to understand, but they went somewhere else. I decided to stay in the cafe and think about what I saw. A few minutes later, the partner I came to meet came. But our meeting didn't go very well, because my thoughts were filled with cheating wife. After the meeting, I got into the car and drove to work. All the way I thought about how I would act in such a situation. I wanted to start yelling at my friend and my wife. But then I came up with something more interesting. I came up with a brilliant idea how to get revenge on them. They obviously do not expect such a surprise. I thought it over well, and began to look for the weaknesses of a friend. I knew that his wife had a strict rich father, and if he found out about his betrayal, he would make a big scandal. But if I just go to his wife's father and say that her husband is cheating, he won't believe me. We need proof. Then I decided to film his betrayal on camera, and then show it to his wife's father. But how would it be better to do it? I thought, after all, I do not know where they meet and at what time. Then a good idea came to my mind. I went to the store and bought home video cameras. I put them at home so that they were not noticeable. I took a short vacation from work and told my wife I was going on vacation for a week. I guessed that my wife would immediately take her lover to our house and the video cameras would record everything. When I told my wife that I was going on vacation, she was noticeably delighted. At first I wanted to stay in the city and immediately catch them hot, but then he changed his mind and decided to really leave the city. A few days went by and my wife didn't even call me once. All these days I looked at the cameras that I installed in our house, but there was nothing suspicious there. I was so afraid that my plan would fail. A week has passed and I returned from vacation. My wife greeted me with joy. She probably had a good rest without me. But the last days of my vacation, I remembered that I didn't watch the cameras. When my wife left the house, I began to watch them. Here they are. I said, the cameras showed that a friend came to their house. I did not watch all the records in full, but watched them in parts. The footage showed that they were lovers. I was glad about it. I finally have proof of his and her infidelity. I knew his wife's father, and therefore I had contacts in the phone book. I sent the videos to her father and his wife. The next day my wife and I were at home, when suddenly her phone rang. The same friend called her, and she was uncomfortable answering in front of me. I told her to answer the phone. She answered 2 minutes later. At first she was silent for a long time and did not say a word. Then she turned her gaze to me. I immediately guessed that it was her lover who called, and my wife guessed that I knew everything. She hung up and looked at me silently. There was joy inside of me. I was able to take revenge on my friend and figure out my wife's infidelities. Tears flowed down her cheeks, and she began to ask for my forgiveness. She said it was a friend who made her sleep with him, that he threatened her and she didn't want to do it. She told it so plausibly that at first I almost believed her. But if it wasn't for the evidence, I said that I didn't see what she was being forced to do. When I saw you at the cafe, I didn't see you being forced to do something, I said. She was surprised at my words and realized that her new excuses were already useless. Then she just started crying silently. 10 minutes later, the same friend called me. I picked up the phone and told him only one thing. I said that now he is not my friend, and I don't want to see such friends anymore. A friend could not respond to my words. As I later found out, a friend started having big problems with his wife and her relatives after his wife found out about his infidelity. She kicked him out of the house. His father took the business from him, and he was left without a wife and without a job. As his wife later told me, he came to their house several times and asked for forgiveness on his knees. I didn't kick my wife out of the house right away. I took pity on her and said that she could stay at home until she found herself a new home. I couldn't kick her out. All this time she asked me for forgiveness and said that she would not do that again. She again began to lie that she was not to blame for anything, but a friend was to blame. I got tired of listening to this lie and kicked her out of the house. She resisted, and then I used physical force. We divorced and she found herself a new home. As I found out later, these lovers got back together and began to live together. I heard that the ex-wife had to work hard because her lover was very lazy, according to the stories of mutual acquaintances. Her lover could not even get a job because his ex-wife's father told all the organizations not to get him a job anywhere. A few months later, I learned that they had separated and began to live separately. I was very happy about this. I was glad that life is still fair. What would you do in my place? Would you forgive such a wife? Or like me, kicked out of the house? Write your opinion in the comments.